anybody can now create a 360 image or 360 video. So it's become much easier. And yeah, how do you run an experiment with it? So I've downloaded a free one off the web again. So if we come over to resources, media, I've downloaded an image here. So that's just a 360 image, okay? And I've placed it in the folder, media. So we come back here to this other example, which is how to deal with the 360 media. I'm only going to use right now the desktop mode. I think that's, I don't have to put on the HMD anymore for you to get the idea that it works with an HMD. So desktop mode. And again, we can do a recording, and we have to say, is it a video or is it an image? Is it mono or is it stereo? And then we choose what it is. Okay, and so let's continue. And here we would put in our subject information, but I will not do it right now. So here is the scene, and if we look at the house, you can see it says gaze fixed on the house. Okay, and then gaze fixed on the peak. And now we have gaze fixed on the grass. So how did it know, you know, and here's our gaze path at the end. So how did the software know what I'm looking at? Okay, so the way you do that is you do an initial run where you do generate a recording. In fact, I already did that just before doing, starting the webinar. So if we go up here into recordings, you'll see a recording here that I already did. So now there are no areas of interest, but the reason why I did the recording is that now I can know at exactly what time I'm looking at the house, and then at exactly what time I'm looking at the peak, okay? And then if we look at the data, and the data now is right here, so it's the tracking data. Okay, so if we come over here, I'm looking at the Machu Picchu peak here at 9.35 seconds. So then I can scroll down, you know, get to that point where it's 9.35 seconds, like right here, and I can get the coordinates of that. Okay, and then in the code itself, there is a place where you can define fixation targets. So this is an example where you have to do a little bit of coding, but it is again just using an example that exists. So so here we have our fixation areas. So you can see right here, these are tracking coordinates. So a little bit different because I took a point in time that was a little bit later. So anyway, we just what we do is we define a fixation region, and it's going to be a sphere in this case, but it could be other shapes. You know, it could be a cube, doesn't have to be a sphere, it could be a different kind of shape. We make it transparent so that we don't see that region, but you can make it non-transparent for testing purposes. Okay, so that's if you want to test it out. So we just use that sample code, and then this fixation areas 1, 2, and 3 are respectively house, peak, and the grass patch. And we just put names of our own here. So these are, again, there's very clear instructions. So if we look into the documentation, these are the documentation. So you can see here. So if we just look for 360, okay, so fixation areas for 360 images and videos, there are instructions you can just follow. And it's the same with all the other things that I showed you. It's all described in the manual, pretty straightforward what you have to do. With video, the only difference is that in addition to coordinates, you also define the time. So when does it appear? When does it go away? For example, if it's moving, you can define its the path where it's moving. So you can really track any fixation areas, objects, etc. That you may have in your experiment.